In this lesson, we're going to be creating a virtual environment for our SMS Reminders application. We'll learn how to use it, and then we'll talk a little bit about why virtual environments are important. So to start off, we're going to have to install a Python package. So we'll go sudo apt-get install python3-venv. So this installs the virtual environment Python package for Python 3, which will allow us to create our environment. Next, I'm going to create a folder to house all of our environments. So I'll go make directory env. And then we want to cd into that directory because this is where we're going to build our environment. And then we want to put in the command python 3-m to signify that we want to import a module. And we want to import the venv module. And then we want the environment name. Let's call it reminders. So there you go. You can see the virtual environment is created. And if we look inside of it, you can see there's a couple folders and some files. The folder that we care about is the bin folder. So we'll go reminders bin, and you can see there's a whole bunch of scripts in there. The one that we're particularly interested in is our activate script. So we'll go ahead and activate that now. So I usually just go dot reminders bin activate, and there you go. You can see the prompt here indicates that our virtual environment is activated. And to show you how it works, what we'll do is we'll install a package. So we'll go pip. Pip is a package installation tool that comes with Python 3 versions. You can still use it for Python 2, but you have to install it separately. So we'll go pip install Flask. So this will install the Flask module or package to our virtual environment. And then we want to test that it's been added. So we just go Python. And then we're going to go from Flask, import the Flask class. And there you go, it imported properly. Okay, so that looks like it's good. So we'll control D out of there. And then next we're going to deactivate our virtual environment. So we'll go deactivate. And you can see the prompt is no longer there, which means the environment is no longer active. And then we want to open up Python again. And we want to go import, or we should do it the exact same way. So we'll go from Flask, import the Flask class. And there you go. So you can see that there's an import error because there's no module named Flask. So this is because we installed our package within our Python virtual environment, the virtual environment reminders, which is no longer active. So we no longer have access to that package. So next we'll talk a little bit about virtual environment. We'll talk about what it is and why you should use it. So virtual environment is a tool that allows you to create isolated Python environments. So what this means is once activated, changes that you make to that Python environment are isolated to that particular environment that you've activated. And as soon as you deactivate it, those changes are no longer affecting your Python environment. So you can see that by the example that we just did, which was installing a Flask package on our virtual environment, which then was no longer available once you deactivated your environment. So why is this important? Because virtual environment allows you to keep your Python dependencies isolated to your project, it helps you work with multiple projects that use similar packages but different versions. So let's use an example. Let's say I'm building our reminders app on my dev box, and it uses Flask version 0.12. So I install that without using virtual environment. Then all of a sudden I get a client who wants work done on their Python application, which happens to use Flask 0.8. So when I go to set up the client's app on my dev box, I now have to install, or rather I have to uninstall the existing installation of Flask 0.12 and reinstall the version 0.18 for it to work and be feature complete. If I had simply used the virtual environment for both projects, all I would need to do is activate the virtual environment for the app and install the appropriate Flask versions. So you may have noticed that I used two different ways of instantiating a Python shell. One of them was the command Python 3, and one of them was just the command Python. For this dev box, the setup has multiple versions of Python. So if you just go Python outside of the virtual environment, you're going to get Python 2. And if you go Python 3, obviously you're going to get Python 3. But once you've activated your virtual environment, you can just use the command Python because that's the one that's been set within that virtual environment, and that'll point to version, I believe, 3.5. So lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between virtual environment for Python 2 and Python 3. If you decided to use Python 2 for this project for whatever reason, that's fine. The majority of the project is going to be in Python 3, so you'll need to make adjustments accordingly, but we'll touch briefly here on how to install a virtual environment with Python 2. So you need to go sudo apt-get install virtual env. And virtual env does basically the exact same thing as the Python venv module. This is for Python 2, however. So then the next command within our env directory is simply virtual env. And then we'll go reminders Python 2. And there you go. We have basically the exact same thing. You can activate it the same way. We can go bin activate, and there you go. You can see it's the exact same. So now that we have our virtual environment all set up, we'll be good to go, and we'll be using this implementation throughout the rest of the series.